Good day, everybody. Welcome to Common Sense Warriors. My name is Lyle,
And my name is Reiner.
and we have the distinct pleasure of interviewing the creator of a Surrey institution. Now, for those of you who don't know, we're interviewing today Mike Nielsen from Sprite Computers. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lyle. That's awesome. It's great to be here, and I think this incentive is going to be really great, as an introduction to businesses. So I'm excited to be here.
Perfect. Well, what we'll do, we're going to ask you a few questions, and we really want to get to know you as you, the entrepreneur, and some of the challenges you face, some of the opportunities that you think, and then, well, first of all, let's go back to 1983, a long time ago in a lot of people's worlds. Some people listening probably weren't even born yet, but in 1983, you opened up your first Sprite computer store. Why don't you just walk us through that whole process?
Sure, Lyle. So just before Sprite, I actually worked for Conti Computers in Vancouver, and and we launched the Commodore 64 together with my old boss, Greg Carter, and those were such great times. So seeing the opportunity, with the Commodore line and the momentum that the line had at the time, I told my boss, Greg Carter, we should open up a branch out in Surrey. And Greg said, you know what, I got my eyesight on Kamloops and maybe Kelowna, but no, Surrey's just not right. So I looked at that opportunity, and I thought, you know what, if he's not going to open a branch in Surrey, I need to do it. So there we are. Basically, early 1983, we made plans to open up our computer shop, and in May 1983, we opened our doors for the first time. When we first opened up, we were a dedicated Commodore store. So, of course, it was the personal computer of its time. Guess a few people would argue that the Apple was doing okay too. But anyways, Commodore, with the Commodore 64, it was the world's most successful computer launch. And a little bit of trivia for you guys. Even today, the Commodore 64 is the most sold computer on planet Earth, with over 20 million Commodore 64s being sold.
Wow.
Still a record even today.
Wow.
But
What happened to Commodore?
well, unfortunately, mismanagement. 1993, RIP Commodore, which was for me a super sad day because they brought out such fantastic products of the day. Going after the Commodore 64, we came with the Commodore 128, but the big launch was the Amiga 1000, and later on the Amiga 500 and other models were revolutionary. They were so far ahead of everyone else, and to me, it was a crying shame that Commodore, didn't follow through with, keeping up that R&D, which was so important at the time. The reason Commodore got in trouble is they decided to enter the, PC-compatible marketplace and build Windows boxes, and they just didn't change and update their inventory, nearly soon enough, and all of a sudden, they got into financial challenges, and then it was over. So very sad day in my world.
I find that really interesting with Commodore being the techiest of the techs back in the 80s and early 90s, but yet still didn't have it was run into the ground from mismanagement then?
It was mismanagement, poor inventory control. You can't be selling 386 product when everyone else has 486 on the shelf, and that's what Commodore screwed up. Mm-hmm. And my other opinion is that they went closed architecture, and if they had gone industry standard architecture on your PC stuff, would have made a world of difference. It really would have. And
then Apple was like they were kind of just the also-ran back then?
Yeah, Apple certainly was doing okay back then, and they had, the foresight to keep revolutionizing their product, and they, of course, brought out their earliest Macs and all that, and the rest is history. And, of course, the other part of it is, the Atari. We did sell Atari for a little bit, and unfortunately, Atari also got into trouble later years, and, they discontinued their computer division at a certain point, too.
And so that's an interesting concept because a lot of people have dabbled in the PC market or the computer market, and there's only really been IBM's been around from day one, and then Apple with the personal computing. Is there any other companies that have really been around for that as long as they have?
Not as long as they have. I certainly, today's landscape is so hyper-competitive. We've got the big players, of course. Got HP and Dell and Lenovo and Acer, and it's so hyper-competitive at their level, Lyle. It's just amazing, that they're all able to make a profit today. And they've all had shakeups and, reinventions of their product lines over the years. But, they're all, doing a decent business today. I would say that.
And then, your business is, so where are you located right now, your current location?
Yeah, so when we first started, a little bit of history is we opened up for 3 years down at 102 and King George Highway at the time, right across from Surrey Central Mall. And after 3 years, our landlord wanted to crank up the old rent, so we started looking elsewhere in Wally and came up with a great location at 108th and King George. And, that's the location we're still at even today. It's been a really good location, even though the neighborhood certainly has gone through a bit of a transitional period. Wally is absolutely getting, a better place to work, live, and play.
And that's kind of my, like, what are some of the changes that you've seen? Like, it'd be pretty cool to have a time-lapse camera that just could take pictures of Surrey or your corner of 108th and King George.
Yeah. So
for the last 40 years or whatever.
Exactly. So,
also the security in that area, that's got to be a concern as well nowadays.
Yeah. So it's certainly a pleasure to have District 1, the RCMP headquarters, just a block away from the shop. So that's my private security force. but kidding aside, I have been a member of the Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association in my 12th year serving as the director.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's very, very important, for people to get involved in your community. And if I want to make Wally a better place, to have my business, I thought it was super important to get involved politically. And so I have, being part of that DSBIA organization, and a lot of incentives, certainly wrapped around safety being a big, big priority. We got bike patrols and area enhancement programs, marketing, movie Under the Stars. So our organization, while I'm not taking full credit for what's happened in Wally, the neighborhood's certainly getting a much, much better. And we are attracting a lot of new people to live in the neighborhood, but also, very importantly, a lot of new business people are coming into the neighborhood too. So I think we've turned that corner, and now that we've got a big handle on the homeless situation, it really is getting to be a nice place to do business.
So that was that kind of leads me to, so the homeless situation in the downtown Surrey area is kind of under control now, or is
I would say it's 100 times better than last year. We built 3 modular sites and homes to about almost 200 people, and those people were on in tents a year ago. So I think it's a huge, good news story for the downtown core.
That's funny. I've not seen that on the media anywhere.
Nope.
A success story about homelessness. And
crime has dropped by 35%, and I got stats to back that up in 1 year. So I mean, that's amazing in itself.
So that just goes to show that if they put some effort into these problems and the situations, that there is a solution. That
absolutely,
there's no perfect solution, and the ideal perfect solution would be for them to be productive members of society, but there's so many issues that are facing them in regards to becoming like that. Yeah. So
there's so many communities having these issues right now. Maple Ridge is in the middle of a major storm right now about that.
And Abbotsford has the same, and they're building modular homes for the people that are there. So more of the changes that you've seen in the downtown Surrey area, like lots of high rises coming in.
Huge.
Like it went from 1980. Like I grew up in Surrey, so right around the corner, really, from where your store is. I've seen in 40 years a ton of changes, or 35 years a ton of changes in the area, going from a small suburb of Vancouver to now the major player on the south side of the Fraser River. And you're being on the member of the Business Improvement Association. You probably have some real unique.
Yes, I can talk a little bit more about that. And that we've got 3 or 4 developers on the board and the DSBIA, and the amount of new buildings going up over the next few years is astounding. We've already seen about 40 new towers in the last 10 years built out, and every time we get a raw piece of land, turn it into homes, it's a real big win for the city. Mm-hmm. It really is. It converts non-productive land to people paying taxes, and it really truly does build our community, which is so important.
And the density in the downtown Surrey area has gone quite a bit higher, and
way higher.
You find that's been good for your business as well?
All new clients for Mike, so it's awesome. Every new tower is another few hundred new customers. So
is Surrey still one of the fastest growing cities in BC, or was it Canada?
In Canada, right?
In Canada,
getting over 1,000 people per month moving to Surrey still today.
Wow.
In another 10 years, we'll be bigger than Vancouver, or very close to that. So
there's not a lot of room left in Vancouver.
Yes, we've still got lots of growth potential in Surrey, of course.
There's a lot.
And now that being said, like what has been your experience in dealing with Surrey? You've probably lived through a lot of different regimes or mayors, and you probably had about 5 or 6 mayors that you've had to deal with in the last 30-something years.
Absolutely. I do feel that for me, Mayor Diane Watts was one of our best mayors. She really was very proactive at developing out the city core, did a lot of incentives for developers to get dirt in the ground in Wally. So she did more than most mayors. I think Linda Hepner, after she took the reins from Mayor Diane, kept a lot of the same policies in place. And now we got Doug back, so his second tenure at being mayor. And it's going to be interesting to see what Doug does with the transportation and the municipal police force that he's envisioned for the city.
Yeah, that's a interesting concept about
a hot potato, which I'm sure we don't want to go into too much more depth here, but
that would be a whole show.
Well, we can go common sense on it and say, where's the
common sense with ground level railway?
Yeah, that, and for me, the municipal police force that Doug's envisioned, it's going to cost us $100 million. One-time changeover, and our budget is going to go up 10, 20, 30% more,
where are they going to train those police officers too? Like the Justice Institute only has so much space.
Exactly.
What's the ultimate underlying goal? Like what's the intention? Why?
Well, Doug's party is the Feel Safe Coalition party. So he wants people to be safer in his community. He's identified there's lots of challenges with safety, which is not totally untrue, but I don't think changing to municipal police force is going to magically correct this issue.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm just wondering is what is that going to improve? I don't see that. Maybe a bigger presence.
Yeah,
I live in Abbotsford, and we have the municipal police force, and they're fantastic.
Yeah,
but they've been around for a long time.
Back when it wasn't $100 million to convert over.
Yes. Well, yeah, and back when you could probably have 25 police officers for the entire community, and it's not that big of a deal, and everybody knows each other, and I think that goes back to community.
Yes.
And the larger communities, when you don't know who you're dealing with, and all of those other types of things, it's really that is where the crime comes in, when you don't have that personalization of the people you're dealing with.
Exactly. I do feel the RCMP model in Surrey works well. They are very community-based. I'm in a couple of safety committees, and we have a bunch of the staff sergeants coming to attend the meetings, and they get very, very involved in community. So, again, I don't see how we're going to improve the situation by going to a private model.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a whole bunch of things that we can talk about. Mike, I've known you for quite a few years. Probably since early 2000.
Yeah, 2000 would be about the time that you walked in.
And actually, I'm gonna take a minute and do a bit of a testimonial for Mike. How I got to know Mike. It's my favorite story. Back then, I'm a computer techie. I have been for a long time, and I was working on my own computer, and a little tiny $1 fan died on my motherboard. And this was back in the days when you didn't throw the baby out with the bath water just because a little piece died. You fixed that piece. Well, I went to the other computer store, I won't mention the name, that was in Surrey, and they're like, oh, no, you know what, we'll maybe add it to our next order, and you can have it in a couple of weeks. I'm like, wow. Without a computer for a couple of weeks because of a silly little fan, and then I went down and I found Sprite Computers, and I went in and I talked to Mike, and I said, yeah, you're probably not gonna do this anyway, but I got to take a shot. And I said, I need this little piece. He says, yeah, we're making a run later on today. Like, what? And then I thought to myself, oh yeah, it's probably gonna cost me $50. And it was like $1 something. And I got it the same day, and we've been great friends ever since, because I love people with integrity. I love people that actually care, and that's how Mike and I became friends. And it's just one of those stories that I've repeated many times, just because just the tiniest little thing that you can do can make this huge difference, and I really appreciate that. So.
Thanks, Reiner.
There's my little testimonial. You owe me lunch. No.
No worries. It's important to make every client's experience a wow experience. I call it. Go the extra mile. Just always spin the table. And how would I have liked to be treated? And when Reiner came in, I could tell this guy's an enthusiast. His computer's down, and his little tiny fan's keeping him from enjoying his PC. And I easily had the ability to get it. Why wouldn't I want to make a new customer? And what was interesting, when Reiner came back later that day to pick up the fan, he says, you're a good guy, and you should come out and join me for breakfast. I go, okay, I could do that. What's the breakfast about? He says, well, it's more than breakfast. It's actually a little networking group. And Ryan invited me out to Think Referrals. We used to meet up at the Rickies up at Fraser Highway in 152, and
in the smoking room.
In the smoking room, yeah. So we had 15. I think there was 15 plus people back in the day, and it was amazing. On that first, little breakfast meeting, I sold a couple items, and I go, wow, geez, this networking thing is actually works. And I, came a second week, and I said, Reiner, I need to join this group, and I did. And what was amazing, in that first year of joining Think Referrals, I increased my business by almost 10%, which is phenomenal, guys. I mean, it was, one of the best, things I did in my whole career is get into networking.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big believer in networking as well, because you have to get out and talk to people, talk to your peers. And I'm sure you can vouch for this. Being an entrepreneur can be extremely lonely. Mm-hmm. as a business, and that's one of the reasons why we did want Reiner and I want to talk to entrepreneurs. We want to talk to business people, because in order for you to be an entrepreneur or a business person, you something's got to be loose upstairs, because the
hours we work.
That's probably a very, very accurate
statement. There's got to be some, you could for all intents and purposes, Mike, you could work at any company out there as an IT consultant, professional.
Yeah, sure.
You could have, but you decided to open up your own computer store and sell retail computers to the people of Surrey, and continue to do that for 30, however many years you've been doing it, and then moving forward. So networking, I think, is a great thing for us to get out and talk to our peers. And this
Absolutely.
is just, this medium is just going to be another way for us to all kind of keep on the same page and not be so lonely.
Well, that's a great segue, because Mike has a few other little parts of his story, because he did take a break.
Yes, I was actually going to ask you that. So,
yeah.
Mike, you haven't owned Sprite computers for the full 36 years.
Yes, absolutely. Have to disclose, what happened back in early 2008. So things were rolling along great, and I had a phone call one day from the Express Computers Group, and they said, we'd like to go out for breakfast with our owner to discuss, a buyout or a merger concept. And I go, that's interesting. I wasn't really looking to sell my company, but hey, let's go out for breakfast and see what's up. So I had a breakfast meeting with Darren Layton, the owner of Express, and he says, Mike, our model is corporate services. That's what we're strong on, and that's what our company is all about. But we feel that, by purchasing really good retail computer stores, we can leverage the bit of corporate traffic, from that, and get us some more corporate services clients. So I said, that's a very interesting concept. And Darren says, and we want you to be part of the team. So part of the offer was for me to be general manager of that location for the next time being. So we did that. So I did sell my company back in 2008 to the Express Group, and stayed on as their GM for almost 5 years. And those years were very interesting. And Darren certainly made some inroads to the local corporate services market. But after 5 years, I figured I did as much as I could at Sprite, and left for a couple different jobs. I was, believe it or not, into a marketing company, JR Direct, for a little while, and even looked at purchasing a commercial laundry business for a while too. But flip up to early 2015, and had another call from Darren. This time he wants to sell his 4 retail locations and get back to his strength in corporate services. So I did buy my shot back, funny enough, in May of 2015, and been there almost 5 years, so about 4 years. And it's getting stronger and better. What I'd like to talk about is, what we currently do at Sprite, because, as you know, we've evolved over the years, and what we really focus on today is mainly consumer computer services. Of course, we do sell, to small business people as well, but our core strength is with the consumer market. And with that, we sell notebooks, of course, is a big part of that. Custom-built computers, gaming computers, virtual reality ready computers. Service department, this is so surprising, because we've had service at Sprite for the full 36 years we've been a computer shop there, In the old days, we did chip and component level repairs, much like Reiner was talking about earlier, repairing motherboards and actually removing chips, soldering new chips on. Today, it has evolved. What do we do mainly at Sprite? We fix people's computers to make them run again. And what I mean by that is people are getting the computers jammed up with malware and spyware and viruses and Trojans and worms and all these horrible things which make the computer either stop working or run extremely slow. So most of what we do today is, we disinfect computers and make them run well again. So funny, if anyone had asked me, if we're going to be doing that kind of work 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. But majority of what we do is just getting people's computers, tuned up today.
So that's actually one of the reasons why I got out of it, because I'm actually a computer electronics specialist, and I got in it because I loved the troubleshooting the hardware and the actual soldering on the chips and fixing that, and that went away. And the enjoyment of it for me went away with it. And,
Yes.
and eventually I just left that because it bored me to tears. Like, this video card is dead. Okay. There, your computer's fixed.
Right.
See ya.
Yes.
That just drove me nuts. So
Where, and so here's for our listeners that don't know, like, where are most of these viruses, Trojans? Are they coming from emails? Are they opening attachments? Like, what are the people doing that are?
There's so many different ways people are getting jammed up today, Lyle. But a couple of them are I call them flyby viruses. So you just get a web page that comes up on your screen that tells you to phone 1-800-Microsoft for help. Of course, we all know that's a scam, and as soon as you phone the 1-800 number, you're usually connected with someone overseas, and they're going to their ploy is, of course, to install some remote access software on your computer so they can remotely help you with your computer. Not really. There probably was nothing wrong with your computer at all, and now they've planted crap in your PC. And unfortunately, once you go to that extreme, the only way for us to help the people out is to back up all their pertinent data and do a fresh Windows install and then put the data back and reinstall their software. An expensive proposition when all the people had to do was close down the browser and restart their PC, and problem would have been eliminated. So I just have to reinforce today is that when somebody phones you or you see something on your screen, don't think it's authentic people. 99 out of 100 times it is a scam. And, we just got to get the word out there that the bad people are working so hard at, extracting money out of our poor clients and customers. My one recommendation is make sure you got a nice up-to-date antivirus product, which you check to make sure it's active and updating all the time, and keep all your Windows updates active. And if you have a question, about something, before you react and phone a 1-800 number or you click on something, phone our shop. We'd be delighted to help anybody, with this kind of challenge.
the funny thing that you mentioned is chances are these are all going to be scams, and the sad thing is they wouldn't be wasting their time doing these scams if they weren't being effective.
Right.
So sadly, too many people are clicking on things and believing that Microsoft is actually we care about your computer here, let us help you, and
Exactly.
and that's just a very sad reality, and it's not just on the computer stuff, it's or malware type stuff, it's letters, it's emails, it's a prince who wants to give you like part of his $1 trillion fortune.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Well,
If it sounds too good to be true, come on, it is.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I wanted to get at, and you can touch on this in a little bit, Windows 10. Now Windows 10, when it came about and when they were shifting everybody to the market, the conversations from so many people is it's a scam. They're spying on you. They're collecting information. They're doing all these things, and oh my God, you got to be crazy to be going Windows 10. Blah 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 blah. And I got to tell you, from my perspective as a geek, I am so sold on Windows 10. It is like the cat's ass in operating systems, and being a techie for as long as I was, this just makes life so easy. It is just amazing what they've done.
I agree with you, Reiner. So, of course, we all know that Windows 10, so we hear out of Redmond, is the final edition of Windows. And it's really great in that it's going to evolve. The biggest challenge for people is when we upgraded from Vista to Windows 7 to Windows 8 to 8.1. Every time we did that kind of update, it broke people's PCs. They had challenges with drivers, and it's always a big deal to upgrade your operating system. So I think by standardizing on a really solid base like Windows 10 and just upgrading it over time with feature upgrades, security updates is the way to go. Kind of a alert for everyone that Windows 7 support is going to stop in the first quarter of 2020. So really, folks, it is really time to get up to 10. And the hardware that you run on Windows 7, generally speaking, is going to perform well with Windows 10.
Isn't it still a free upgrade?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if Microsoft would make this statement, but what we have found is that if you have a valid Windows 7 license and you do a scratch installation of Windows 10, it'll take your Windows 7 key and activate it as a digital license, which of course we're recommending to people to do well before their support for Windows 10 or Windows 7 is expired early next year.
I have a question for you, Mike. WikiLeaks, the WikiLeaks guy, whoever was Julian Assange.
Yes.
So he was telling people that, and I watched the movie, and it was actually quite disturbing, that they could get into your computer, the NSA, the CIA, whoever's looking around, and not that I have anything to hide, but the fact that they can hack into your computer and see what you're looking at and know what you're doing. And I know it's for the public safety of everybody, but I'm like, is it, first of all, are they doing that? And how the heck are they doing that? And what are the ramifications of that?
And do we have a right to privacy? Do we have a right to not allow them to be on our computers?
Yeah.
That's probably the key. Whether you made a great statement. I have nothing to hide. Well, that may be the downfall of all of us. As well, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be worried about them spying on you. But where does it end?
Yeah, I mean, Big Brother looking in has always been a big topic over the years, and I guess you're right, Lyle. If you got nothing to hide, why worry about it? But at the end of the day, it is your privacy, and I feel that, if you have a personal computer, it should be kept personal, right? So, with the right firewall and security, I feel that, you can lock down your PC to the point where people can't remotely access it. But, there's, CIA and FBI and their tools. Wow, so I'm not gullible enough to think that the CIA is on, looking at my PC as we talk, but if they really wanted to, yeah, I bet they could do it. So yeah, you're right. It will be an issue going on, and how private should our personal computers be? And that's a big topic.
Well, and I, for one, am happy that they've got some security for the nonsense that goes on in the world, right? But it is a little scary that they can come in there and just take a look and take a look at my kids on my computer, or like my kids' pictures on my computer, and my family stuff and everything else. Like, it just doesn't jive with me.
The really disturbing part, though, is for me, is I mean, that's disturbing, and yeah, I don't like the whole Big Brother thing, but if they can do it,
well, they can do it. The bad guys can do it too, right?
There's hackers out there that are a lot smarter than these guys.
Yes.
Okay. And though they like to think they're really smart, there are hackers out there that are amazing. That if you got to hire them in your business, you are going to get like some incredibly brilliant people, and that is a disturbing thing. There are some hackers out there that just scare me.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that they're not going to work for a legitimate
right. Exactly.
Their ill-begotten gains are not.
A lot of them don't even do it for gains. A lot of them do it just for the recognition that I did it. Not that I like stole or whatever. It's just that I did it.
Yeah, I can do it. Yes.
And that's a scary thing.
Because So Julian Assange, he created WikiLeaks, or founded WikiLeaks. He was working for the NSA as one of their guys, right? Mm-hmm. And said, no, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. And then the government went after him, and he claimed refuge and is still in refuge, from what I gather, right? So
he's still hiding out even today.
It's an interesting concept, and there was a George Orwell novel, Big Brother.
Yeah.
They talk to you through the computer or through your television, I think, was back in the day. Well, now they're just talking to you through the computer, and they can watch you through the computer and
exactly,
and everything else. And
and smart TVs.
Well, the smart TVs
they
too,
exist.
But I always see people with little Post-it notes or tabs on their web cameras,
Yes.
so that people can't. Yeah,
I
you
have an on-off button on my camera.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. So we kind of talked about the past of computing and the Commodore 64, and I think we used to have the Apple IIe and those types of things, and then you went to the IBM base, like this PC base with a 386, 486,
Pentium.
286.
Yes. Yeah.
And here's a funny little thing is that my dad actually bought our first family computer from Sprite Computers. I don't even know what year it was, but it was a 386, and we thought we were
Wow.
we
Talk
were
about
like
speed.
we had a
performance.
modem and everything,
Wow.
and it was that
Bet
was
you missed that noise.
that was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just shameless plug for that is I think my mom still has it in the attic somewhere.
Get off your
Wow.
computer. I need to use the phone.
Hurry.
Mom.
Yes.
Well, I didn't even know how to use it, so I played golf on it. I think that was what I played golf and Minesweeper. It's like a really expensive video game.
Yeah.
So we talked about the past, present. Where's the future of computing going, Mike?
Well, yeah. So at Sprite, we certainly engulfing the future in a big way, and what we got introduced to almost 2 years ago is virtual reality. So I identified that as the kind of the most exciting development in the PC gaming industry for a long time, and we had tried this in the mid-90s with a company called VFX1, and it was pixelated, non-immersive, and it was cool tech for the time, but I could see it just wasn't quite ready.
Like Lawnmower Man, that type of thing?
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So here we are, basically the Vive came out in late 2017, and I tried it at a open house, and I go, wow, is this ever cool tech? So immediately had to have one for the shop to showcase it to our customers, and my initial thought was, hey, let's get an HTC Vive in so we can demonstrate how good our gaming computers are, and hopefully we'll have a business model to build more gaming computers. So we did that, and all of a sudden people started to want to, oh, can I try that? And all of a sudden we thought, wait a minute, let's create a little rental opportunity. So now we have two HTC Vive PCs that we use to rent out, and it's amazing. There's over 10,000 titles for VR now, and titles are, like Beat Saber and Space Pirate Trainer, titles that are just unbelievable, and they're so immersive. Other than games, there's things like Google Earth, where you can go anywhere on the planet and walk down any street and experience it, basically, like you're there. And we've had a lot of people crying in the showroom after the experience, going back to their hometown and walking around their city. It's truly amazing. Or going to Stonehenge and checking out that, or the Swiss Alps, or swimming with the dolphins, or Pearl Harbor and walking on the USS Arizona. It's just amazing, it's so immersive. So I think that is a big part of the future. It's going, even beyond that, now we have Oculus Rift, and Pixmade and a whole bunch of other companies getting into the VR. Of course, there's Microsoft's HoloLens with their augmented reality. So I think that's going to be a big part of the future. So it's exciting to be there in this day and age, that's for sure.
You mentioned Google Earth. Just wrapping your head around the immensity of that project.
Yes.
I mean, you have to just wrap your head around the fact that almost every inch
of the planet
has been
mapped.
covered by them and has been mapped and put on video, and it is mind-boggling just to think, and it gets updated constantly. That is a mind-boggling
It is in itself.
thought.
Yes.
And didn't they do something with Mars now, or are they're working on Mars?
Do they have a Google Earth car on Mars now, or?
Well, yeah.
Elon's
It's driving around with
Roadster.
the big camera on
Yes.
its roof. Or was it the moon? Or they're working on it?
I think they're working on the moon first. But,
Yeah, but I think you can literally like check out all aspects of the moon. I mean, it's a bizarre thought. Not quite the clarity and closeness of the cars on Earth, but with the cameras and scoping all of the planet. It's just a bizarre thing. And for the flat earthers, it's just scoping the very front.
yes, there you go.
I don't even think those people exist.
Yeah, they do. I've had many arguments with them.
Who? On the internet?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're not real then. They're just like some random guy in his mom's basement acting like a dork.
Then that's still real.
Yes.
But it's not real. He doesn't really believe that the Earth is flat.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I honestly have not met anybody who thinks the Earth is flat. So, I mean, I don't know. So you say the future is going into virtual reality,
Yeah.
that type of thing. What about processing speeds and stuff like that? Because I remember it used to be a big thing. Well, how fast is your Pentium chip or your Intel
Sure.
chip, and then some of the different companies that are out there. So we had Intel, we had
AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. So the good news is that both Intel and AMD have got really great performance processors. Interestingly, is AMD decided to about 4 years ago, they wanted to be competitive in the high-end extreme part of the market. So they retooled right from scratch and designed a new processor we know as the Ryzen. And Ryzen's been out for almost 2 years now, and now we have a very, very super competitive product with what Intel's offering. And I feel it's super important to keep competition. So if we only had Intel, we'd be paying way more money for for not as good a processor. So it's nice to see AMD and Intel both battling it out. And then the other big players, of course, are the video card companies. And we've got NVIDIA, and their latest offerings is the RTX 2080 Ti series. And then we've got our friends at AMD also, who are bringing out the new Vega technology. So it's nice to see two significant video card companies also battling it out for the extreme performance part of the market.
And what about augmented reality and having some sort of interface with the human brain? Is that are we going to create technology that can actually do that, or is that?
Geez, I've seen
Elon Musk made me a little bit worried about some of the things he said.
Yeah, I've seen Sophia, the artificial intelligence robot, and boy, it's artificial intelligence has really come a long way in the last few years. So, augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all these technologies are all pulling together. And, we all talk about what's going to happen in the future. But, I think we're going to create close to human being technology by 2050. As weird as that may sound to a lot of people here, I do think, with the huge developments in AI in the last few years and VR and all these techs all being pulled together, it's going to be an amazing time. It really is.
So pretty much if it's on the store shelves right now, it's already outdated.
Well, yeah, they're working on next year's stuff already, no question.
I used to live on the bleeding edge, being a techie, but I kind of stopped that probably about 8 years ago, just because it was getting ridiculous. Like there were times when I would upgrade my computer twice in a year.
Yes,
that's just insanity. And I haven't really suffered by not updating in like the last 8 years. I haven't. I just got this laptop here from Sprite, my computer supplier, and it's a used laptop, and I don't need anything newer because I'm not going to be creating like all kinds of things on here. I'm using it as a internet machine, and it's an i7 though. It's decent. But yeah, the latest. My son just bought the latest. My son's a 3D animator, and he just bought from Mike, of course, an i9. And oh my,
it's a fast processor.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. And he went from an AMD, from a Phenom, which was good being too. A 3D animator, he was using AMD product. He could have gone Intel, but he chose the 6 threads on the Phenom processor, which was great. But yeah, the insanity of the speeds nowadays is just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, we have one more section of our podcast. We have the lightning round. So we have to ask you a series of questions as quickly as possible. You have to answer the questions.
Sure.
If whether it makes sense or not doesn't matter. So, so here we go. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Godfather or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
How many times did you sneeze in the last 7 days?
None.
Wow. Do you like the word dapper?
Sure.
Big dogs or small dogs?
Small dogs.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
I get 7 to 8 hours a night.
Are women complicated?
Very complex. The most complex piece of technology that we have are women.
Say good day, mate, in an Australian accent.
Good day, mate.
How often is it healthy to cry?
Whenever you have something sad to think about, which, of course, is way too often in today's world.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite carb? Bread, pasta, rice, or potatoes?
My favorite
carbohydrate.
Carb. Okay, potatoes.
Potatoes. Okay, good old
Irish back.
Irish boy there.
Yeah.
If you could ask God one question, what would it be?
how far does the universe go?
Okay.
Oh.
Stale Sour Patch Kids or fresh citrus peanuts or fresh circus peanuts?
We'll go for the Sour Patch Kids.
There you go. Paper or plastic?
Paper.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. Mike from Sprite Computers, Surrey institution for the last 36 years. Thanks for joining us on Common Sense Warriors. We're going to sign off. And please look us up on the interweb, the World Wide Web, www.
CommonSenseWarriors.com.
There you go.
You can find us on Facebook as well at Common Sense Warriors.
Thanks, Rainer. And a little comment about the World Wide Web. We just turned 30 about a week ago.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
So happy birthday.
Happy birthday to the interweb.
You think it's going to stick around? I mean, I know the TV was a fad and everything.
I think we got a little bit more years on the web, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure.
Thank you very much, guys.